So I have officially completed week 1 of The Artist's Way, and I have to tell you, I didn't set a lot of high expectations for myself and how I wanted things to be, or how well I was going to get through the process, because I knew that maybe I would not have done the best. Welcome back to the Raw and a Half podcast, where we get real and then some. I am your host, Jasmin.siri, and today I will be discussing my experience through week 1 of The Artist's Way, which is a spiritual path to higher creativity by Julia Cameron. And as you can see, I am somewhere completely different. I am in my living room. I started The Artist's Way because I wanted to take a step outside of every comfort zone and every limitation that I've put on my creativity. I unknowingly was putting myself in a box. Everything felt repetitive. I lost motivation, I lost passion, and I honestly lost sight of why I kind of wanted to do this channel in the first place. It's like I knew I wanted to use my voice, but it didn't necessarily feel authentic 100% of the time if I'm speaking with the mask of trying to be this super precise, perfect person. It just didn't make any sense. So something was calling me to go to Barnes & Noble and do the Artist's Way Challenge. If you want to hear more about it, I talk about it in the last episode that I did. Hope you hear that. And this video will be talking all about the first week. My triumphs, my pitfalls, things that I wish I would have done better, and just overall how it felt going through the experience. So I will be talking about just how every day of the week went for me, not one by one, but just how I was naturally drawn to do the work, things that have come up. Hopefully when I'm talking about this, I don't get so emotional, because not that being emotional is lame, I'm not gonna be that way, but it's just like, I wanna get through it completely detached from how I felt, and hopefully I have full control of my emotions now to be able to fully express it without mentally and emotionally taking myself there, because I've already done it. I've already done the crying, I've already done the processing. I have moved on from the things that are holding me back. I think there's a part of me that's so empathetic to who I was. I weep for myself, and now's just not the time, okay? So yeah, let's get started. Week 1, or chapter 1, was titled Recovering a Sense of Safety. It is to help establish a sense of safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity with less fear. It talks about the shadow self and ways that we kind of halt our creative expression by, stopping ourselves from being because of all of the many ways society or our environment or culture or people in our lives have kind of like changed and altered the way that we feel about exploring or expressing ourselves creatively. In the book, it talked about protecting the artist within, and I kind of put the artist within and then my younger childhood self kind of hand in hand, because it is that young, fresh, and like super excited for life version of me that kind of sparked all of the creative things that I do now. And whoever I am now, it's just a curated version, or maybe a more elevated version and expression of who I was then. I don't want to necessarily even say elevated. I think who I am now is a curated lion version of myself to protect the creative inner sheep that was inside of me. And to a certain degree, I feel like this, adult version of me exists a lot through fear, because of all of the many ways this younger sheep and more pure version of myself was told it was wrong to be as creative as I was, or to live my life in the passion and the free expression of who I was. So this chapter, and this being chapter 1, was just such an icebreaker for me, because this is exactly what I needed to strip myself bare of everything that I felt before and what was keeping me, not necessarily from expressing myself with the world, but what was keeping me from myself. The reason why I even started this Artist's Way is because it wasn't that I feared sharing myself with the world. I was always sharing myself, but whatever I shared wasn't 100% in alignment with the creative version of myself and who I always dreamed myself to be. And there was obviously a blockage from who I am today in this younger, more fresh or super deeply artistic version of myself. And I needed to bridge the gap. So I'm going to talk about, every discussion, my rises, my pitfalls, what kind of came up in me, and hopefully with what I expressed with you today, it will kind of spark something in your creativity that will get you over the hump of whatever block you may feel. If you do, if you don't, or if you're interested in starting the artist's way, maybe with what I shared to you and how deep I get within myself will give you just a little bit more curiosity in ways that you have kind of stood in front of yourself when it comes to like your own creative expression. So let's go to each discussion. So the very first task is the morning pages. You set your clock an hour and a half before your day and you write up to 3 pages, and it's just a longhand stream of consciousness. And I'm not even going to lie to you, I did it like 2 times, and I get that there's 7 days in the week, but I could only do it twice. Hear me out. There's some days where I have to go to work and teach at 5 a.m. and then I come back and I take a nap. So if I'm supposed to wake up an hour ahead, that means I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to get ready for 4, to be at work for maybe 5 and teach 5:15 and on. And it's like, that just didn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm the type of person that I do enjoy sleep. I sleep every day. I take a nap at least every day. It's a part of who I am. And I start to think like, man, do I just have low energy? But it's honestly like I need rest. Like, that's just who I am. And at first I felt bad about it, but then I was like, I'm not going to judge myself for just not being able to have the discipline to wake up at 3 a.m. And honestly, I don't ever think waking up at 3 a.m. was a part of the point. It's like, at first I told myself, like, if I don't have the discipline enough to wake up at 3 a.m. to fully commit to this process, then I must not be taking it seriously. And then I had to counter that with like, you know what? I'm going to give myself grace and feel what naturally flows for me. And waking up at 3 a.m. to write 3 pages in any type of stream of conscious, whether it was doodles or not, it just was not in the books for me. I like to have a slow morning. I wake up maybe around 8:30 or 9. I get something in my system and then I come to write. That's just always how I've been. I like to enjoy my mornings before I force myself into something like this. So if you're anyone like me that just could not wake up at the crack ass of dawn to writing the morning pages, for the first week I can understand that because that's just not natural for me. But maybe the next week I will try to do the whole waking up at 3 a.m. just to get it done and see what flows, I fully accept that that was one of the things that I could not bring myself to do, but everything is subject to change. I think that's been my mantra for a while. Everything is subject to change, and I should be open and willing to it, like I am. So, morning pages is a task that you do every day of the week until the process is over. And people say that once you're done with it, it's something that stays in your life. People's complete lives have changed, and it says in the book, this will change your life by doing these morning pages. Hey, it might change mine. I just can't get into it yet. Okay. Number 2, take yourself on an artist date. You will do this every week for the duration of the course. Take $5 and do something small, yada, yada, yada. So what I did is I went to Hobby Lobby and I got one of those, pre-made portraits that you can use the numbers and paint. And I got this. Probably are not able to see it fully. Can you see this? It doesn't make any sense right now. You can kind of see that it's trying to be something. I'm not done with it. And even doing that, oh my gosh, I feel so bad because I started doing that. And then after a while, after an hour or so, my eyes got tired. I was losing it. So I took a nap. And then I started to feel bad about that. I'm like, dude, nothing is sticking to me. I guess it's so outside of my routine. I'm just not naturally able to sit down and finish something like this. And I don't even think I'm supposed to, but like, I've discovered that in the whole, like, using all of your time to do something creative, using all of your time to do something productive, using all of your time and energy to just do work, I can't focus on just one thing for a long period of time. Like, it either exhausts me because my mind wants to travel somewhere else, or it's like I'll stop and I'll start, I'll stop and I'll start, and it takes me probably all day to do something that should be done maybe in 2 hours. And I think honestly, social media and my addiction to social media, which I talked about in the very beginning of this series, is the reason why. Like, yes, my attention span is getting shorter and shorter. There's only a very few select things that I can do, but the only way that I know that this is something that I should be doing, it's like in my process of life, doing the start, stop, there's a very few things that I am able to come back to. YouTube is one of those things. Speaking is one of those things, like self-help things and all of that. That's something that I'm really passionate about. And that's the only way that I know that it's something that I should do. Not because I have even the urge to do it all the time. It's because even when I don't have the urge, eventually I come back. Those are the small inklings. So I'm going to try to finish this art thing. It's so strange. It's like I'm an artist, but only in specific ways. Like, I'm not necessarily like a drawer or like a coloring book girl. I'm not someone that doodles a lot. I've never been one of those physically artist-like person. I've always like used my own inner being to be an artist. Like, I was a dancer. I like to speak. Sometimes I write. There was at one point where I wanted to be a singer. Lord help me. But I'm like doing something outside of me. It's very hard for me to focus on. I get bored really easily of it, or I feel like, not worth it, and I leave it. That's something that came up for me. So in the next coming weeks, honestly, until I finish this portrait, it's going to continue to be my artist date. I will take myself out and do other things. Like, I'm interested in going to this museum. I want to go to the orchestra. Just something cute, very classy, something where I get dolled up and I take myself out. And I'm looking forward to it. But that was task number 2. Number 3, and this is where it got really, really deep. Now, the tasks where you're writing and you're expressing yourself this week took me by total surprise at how emotional I got. Like, there was a point when I got to the end of this that I was like crying. Like, I'm like writing and I'm like sobbing, and it's like this deep thing. When anyone is told to travel into the past to like remember a specific emotion or an occurrence that happened, we often do it in hopes that we've moved on from it truly inside. I think when I try to forgive and forget, I like to assess how far I've removed myself from it by how emotional I'm able to get in that remembrance. Like, when you're recalling an emotion and all of a sudden you're talking aggressively and you're speaking fast and you're getting hot in the chest, it's like, that's letting me know that it's still there. And I don't like doing that because it makes me question if I've actually forgiven the process or if I've forgiven the people that I needed to move on. If everything that I've experienced, negative or positive, is able to evoke so much emotion in me in the present moment, have I fully let it go? Do I even want to let it go? And questioning what it makes me if I have or if I haven't let it go. I'm still in this in between where I either really care about something so much I can't let it go and I never want to, or I've completely detached from it. I forget that it even exists and I don't feel anything about it, and I look like a complete sociopath. Moving on. This number 3 It says time travel. List 3 old enemies of your creative self-worth. Please be as specific as possible in doing this exercise. Your historic monsters are the building blocks of your core negative beliefs. This is your monster hall of fame. More monsters will come to you as you work through your recovery. It is always necessary to acknowledge creative injuries and grieve them. Otherwise, they become creative scar tissue and block your growth. So, in listing the enemies of my creative self-worth, I think I wanted to say the first one was myself, just because I wanted to sound good and not point the fingers and blame someone else for the ways that I feel. That sounds like the more mature thing to do. At the end of the day, no matter what someone says, how much it affects me is my responsibility, and my ability to move on from it is also mine. When I hear this, I know that it is true. I know that the power is mine to either take what someone says and like let it brush off, or really say like, hey, no, that person really hurt my feelings. I don't want to hold on to it, but it hurt me so much that it's been a part of my, maybe the shaping of my personality and who I've been. That's the more honest response. I think in order to be like raw and authentic, I have to stop pretending to be this like super healed and growth driven person. And like sometimes I am, but sometimes I have to like give myself the opportunity to allow things and people and like just things in general to hurt me in order to truly move on, in order to truly do the work, because otherwise it's all playing pretend. Am I really healed, or am I pretending to be a healed person to seem more mature or to exist in certain spaces, or because I like how people look when they're viewed as someone that has moved on? People put such a bad rep on the others that express their emotions because it is damaging. There are some emotions that we hold on to that can completely ruin our lives. Trust me, there's some things that I haven't held on to that have festered so long into something disgusting that I know if I do not do the work to move on from this, I could really hurt someone. And I think the fear of what I would become is something that motivates me to move forward. Like, and I hope you hear this as clearly as I'm saying it, because when I see people that have done the work or that are doing the work, I look at them like, oh my gosh, they're perfect. Like, they don't have any bad days, or like, oh wow, like, what does your life look like where you can exist in a place of peace? And I think I'm slowly growing or getting to the point of like, the process is not that nothing hurts you, is that you're so in control of what you can control that you don't allow smaller things to affect you in a negative way, because there will be more things. And if this is how you handle what's in front of you now, how will you be able to move forward? You know, yes, certain things hurt you. Certain things are kind of meant to hurt because it shows that we are human, we are alive, we are imperfect beings, but also we have to be able to learn how to detach to carry more things that are in front of us. And so the first person was myself, and I'll say that just to be politically correct. The next person was my mom. And I don't want to say that because, like, my mom, she's been the most inspirational person in my life. She's been the most empowering person in my life, mentally, physically, that it's wrong to even say like, okay, yeah, one of my core experiences in my life is like an encounter that I had with my mom. I think I've moved past like the point of blaming my parents for who I become, you know? But if I'm asked a question, I have to answer it honestly. And the situation wasn't even a big deal. It's just an accumulation of like who my mother had to become to raise 2 young girls on her own. I think my mother's like financial ability and just like physical ability to like support my endeavors, my beliefs, my mind, and like the things that I wanted to do and who I was, it kind of trickled into my own beliefs as well. And I so desperately didn't want to put so much of a burden on my mom that there were certain things about who I was that I just stopped wanting to be, because sometimes I felt like maybe if I wasn't here, or if my mom just had one child to raise that was my older sister, that maybe she would be farther along. So in an attempt to like give my mother a like some type of pass, or like not necessarily, you know, put so much on her, I just pretended not to want certain things, or I pretended not to care, or I pretended not to really value certain things that were really important to me, all because I knew how much it would spread my mother so thin, or like financially she just wasn't able to do it. And even as I like progressed and got older, the only thing that I did were things that I knew my mother didn't necessarily have to support me to do. So if there was something that was going on in school and I cared about it, I would do it. Or it was like one of those things, if the school provided it and I could do it and it was free, that was the only way that I was able to. Because other than that, there's really not much for me to do. You know what I'm saying? Moving on, the people that were in my house, I've said my sister, and it was just that our relationship is better now, but we were just two completely different people. And I remember experiencing like this invasion of privacy where my sister used to like go through my things to like see my bad grades, or like just watch like if I had notes or whatever. But it was just the fact that I felt like I couldn't even like have a journal to myself. I couldn't make bad grades even though I sucked at school. I just was like so afraid to be human, because I knew that there was some consequence to be this imperfect person that I am. And it did a lot to me mentally. Just old people from my past that I don't want to call them haters. I don't think that they're haters. I just think that, you know, when you see a person that is so uniquely themselves and it's outside of like what culture says is cool, you know, it's just maybe they're a little on the spectrum and you don't know necessarily how to respond to them. They're just so uncool. You just have to find a way to make them feel uncomfortable. And that's kind of what it was. It's like, at first I didn't understand the whole projection thing. I'm like, I do think that I'm all that, but like, why does that bother you? It was so like, not to say that I was oblivious. I didn't know necessarily how to hide the confidence that I had in myself. I didn't get why it was such a big deal or why it made them so upset. Now they realize it's like they didn't necessarily dislike me. It was like they loved me so much that they couldn't necessarily know how to express that other than watch me make me feel like I should hate myself. And now that I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, maybe when they have kids, someone will do the same to theirs and they'll understand the process, or just through life, you know, they're kids. But it was tough. Like, I don't know. Let me know if you were someone that people was like, okay, I like you, but you're just too much. You're too passionate. You rub me the wrong way. I knew deep down is because I always felt like I was special. I always knew that I was that bitch. Even when people didn't agree or felt like I had what it takes to be that bitch. It was just really because, like, at first I thought that, like, dang, maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe my passion for, like, the things that I genuinely love, the things that I fight to love, because this is all I can do, right? Maybe it should make people uncomfortable because I shouldn't do this. But then after a while, like, I realized it's because I'm fucking amazing. And whatever. Another one was like some guy from my past. I remember I wanted to do like the YouTube thing, but I didn't start yet. It was just all like just particles of thought in my mind. It was nowhere near like doing what I am doing now. And I reached out to him, or we were talking regularly about himself, because he loved to talk about himself. And I was like, hey, if I start this thing, like, would you Would you like support it? If I had a Tumblr, would you like follow me? And he was like, no. And I was like, what? Why? And they were like, well, that's not me. That's not what I am. That's not what I do. I'm not going to follow that because of you. And I was like, well, I just didn't get that. And I think it was like they'd rather, I mean, he didn't want to attach himself to me anyway, but I think it was like he didn't want to be with someone with like a failed YouTube channel. He'd rather be with someone without one than be with someone that had a struggling one that was like trying to get it together. Like, when they say it's hard to start from the bottom, it's not because it's actually hard. It's because the way that people view you, and you will continue to view yourself in the ways that others do and never start, because you have this like embarrassment for them over your own true passion of just like wanting to do it. I had to sit myself down like after like the whole validation thing. Like, I wanted his validation. I wanted him to like actually like me. And I think I was like, okay, well, that does make sense. Like, to save him the heartache of being with someone that would be embarrassing to him, I just won't do what I want to do. And then I realized what a loser I actually thought he was. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do every fucking cool thing that I think he would disagree with, because I actually realized that like I'm the cool one. You know, when you're with someone that you bring the coolness out of them, and they're with you for so long, they assume that the coolness is coming from them. It's like, no, it's because of who you're with, and like the person behind the scenes that's actually like piping you the fuck up. So yeah, fuck that nigga. I already said myself, right? So yeah, that was it. And like, I had to really, as much as I didn't want to, right? I told you in the beginning, I wanted to say myself. I wanted to say I was the reason for the way that I felt, or like I am my own creative monster. But it's not like, honestly, like, let's be real. People have the ability to affect you. Words stick. They can't physically hurt you, but they can hurt you in ways that change your physical life because of how you feel about them. And it's not good for me to discredit those real words, because whether I acknowledge them or not, or give them credit or not, they have affected me somehow. So yeah, let's normalize people saying things and actually being affected by them. I'm tired of being like, having to pretend like things don't affect me just to make someone feel good. Like, yeah. So moving on to number 4, it says time travel again. Select and write one horror story from your Monster Hall of Fame. You do not need to write long or much, but do jot down whatever details come back to you. The room you were in, the way people looked at you, the way you felt, what your parents said or didn't say, etc., etc. And I put down it's a very small moment, but it impacted me. This was around the time where my mom, she had like recently bought a house. We were there for a while. I think we were in like middle school, and it was around the time for me to like discover like what I should be, what my extracurricular activity was, what's something that I needed to do. My sister was always in a specific sport, and because my mom also did the same sport, they had this like bond of like, they could relate, but that sport was just not me at all. It was the bane of my existence. Like, having to go to those things, like, it triggered me. I was always uncomfortable, never got it. People ran in a fucking circle for hours, and I didn't understand why people attach themselves to it. I do get it, like, it's a sport, people have a heart for it, but it felt like hell. Okay. And I wanted to do other things. I wanted support, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do that yet. Totally normal. My mom ended up giving me and my sister a journal, and I don't know exactly what the moment was, but it was brought to my attention that whatever I wrote in that journal was like, my mom read it, my sister knew what it was, and I'm like, I think it wasn't something negative I said. I think I said something along the lines of, it's my turn, or I wanted it to be my turn. You know, the younger version of me, or the little girl in me, I mean, I was a little girl at the time, I wanted the support. I wanted my mom. I wanted to feel like my mom took pride in my interest too. And it wasn't like it was the opposite. It was just that I didn't know what I wanted. You know, there wasn't anything that I did that made my mom support me in. And my sister knew about it, and it was something that she could hold against me. And it would always make me feel sad. Or it was like, because of that betrayal, right? And because I was the only one that could feel necessarily that way, I felt like there was no justice on my end. People say all the time, like, don't read a person's journal. It's an invasion of privacy. It's like, okay, yeah, that's an invasion of privacy. If people don't get that, cool. But like, to have those words that were really important to you, especially as a kid, those things that you're able to articulate, be used against you. I was just like, I remember like being so sad. Like, I didn't talk, like I did these weird things. And I think all of those weird things I did were just like a cry for like support, a cry for like attention. I remember I didn't talk for a very long time. And I think even that process, like that whole, it was a very small thing. Like, I'm only remembering it now because of how important it was to me. The fact that I was the only person that could see how damaging it was, it made me resent my dad even more. Not that because he wasn't around, because whatever, that's fine. It was just that sometimes I think when you have a single parent, there's no other adult present to hold that other parent accountable. Like, there's no other parent there to look at the other parent and say like, all right, you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, maybe you shouldn't respond this way. Maybe you shouldn't give your other daughter more leverage. Or like, why are you picking sides? Or like, do you not see how this could affect her long term? It just, because they didn't see it, there was no justice. I just had to kind of forget about it. And it never went away. And I remember like behavioral issues definitely started. I stopped talking. I started lying more than ever. And I just developed this secrecy about who I was and the things that I wanted. And yeah. That was very small, but it affected me somehow. So then 5 says, write a letter to the editor in your defense. Mail it to yourself. It is great fun to write this letter in the voice of your wounded artist child. And I said, I went in, you know, I was like, to whom it may concern, how dare you? And like, I deserve better. And like all of these things that, you know, are good. It's good to, it like, having that be the next task, to like allow this younger version of you, or this artist, to receive some type of justice. I feel like it's very refreshing. And so yeah, I definitely went in on just any entity that I felt like was the reason that I felt like I was weird, or the reason that felt like I wasn't safe to be my creative self. And it wasn't just that one scenario. It was a lot of, you know, different people unknowingly. It was a lot of different creative things that were the center of my low creative self-worth. And number 6, it says, now list 3 old champions of your creative self-worth. And I put my aunts were definitely them. Like, my mom has 2 sisters, and I don't spend like a lot of time with my aunts. Like, I don't have that type of family. But in the times that I have spent with my aunts, I've always been able to be my like creative, free self. Like, when it comes to like, you know, the law of attraction, or like creating the life that you want, and like really seeing yourself as a creator no matter what you do. Like, they were kind of the first to put that seed into my head that actually stuck. Like, people can say things to me my entire life, but when people say things that you actually are able to digest and listen to, I remember those people being my aunts fondly in different ways. And I'm just so happy that despite of like whatever I had earlier going on in my life, I had like two positive examples of like just freedom in different ways, you know, so I appreciate them. The other is like my inner me, because like I said, from a very young age, I always knew that I was special. I always thought that I was that bitch. It was just everyone around me seeing it and experiencing me feeling that way about myself that made me feel like, damn, like what the fuck is so wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? My other is like my vengeance, like wanting to prove people wrong, like that version of me. That it's not even competition. It's like, I just want to put you underneath my fucking foot for ever doubting me. That version of me is kind of like what keeps me going. It's definitely, I don't know who I would be without that version of myself. And I see that is my champion, which is also me. Wow, this sounds super narcissistic, very, very self-centered. But I think I'm at a point in my life where being self-centered is not a bad thing. If I don't put myself at the center, who will? You know? Another is my old coworkers. The old coworkers that I've like had positive experiences with, let's say that I walk into a place and people hate me. That has happened, and I have gotten fired because this older Chinese lady that I worked with, she just I walked into a room and then she just felt like I didn't walk into a room like she wanted me to, so she got me fired. But for the positive experience that I've had with my coworkers, that are they just get it, like where we work is not important. We just want to have fun. We just want to do what we do, and we want to leave, and we want to have our own lives. Because usually when you're in point of survival, where you work is where you spend majority of your time. It's good to be around people that just aren't insecure, that aren't basing their entire social life around the people that they work with. I appreciate all of those experiences with people that are like fun, and that I get to know people that from all different walks of life that are just make an impact on me just by how cool they are. You know, it is what it is. Number 7, it says, write out one happy piece of encouragement, write a thank you letter, mail it to yourself, etc., etc. And I said, thank you for never giving up on us. I know how challenging it is to be the only one with this vision you have for yourself, but you should be proud of yourself for not basing your life on others' inability to see that. We know that they could never, but you can and you will. Keep breathing, keep going, keep editing, keep posting, keep speaking, keep evolving, and I will see you on the other side of our beautiful life that we will create together. Yeah. Isn't that so sweet? Anyway, number 8 is imaginary lives. If you had 5 other lives to lead, what would you do in each of them? And I told myself I would be an esthetician because I love just like popping pimples and stuff like that. I'm addicted. I just want to get in there and just pop. Anyway, I would be like a voice actor. I think I can still do that, but it's just like I would dedicate a lot more time, and I'd probably be farther along, just like voice acting, because I think that's fun. I love animation to this day. Love a good voice work, like a voice acting job, or like a movie, an animated series or movie where the voice acting is just like so good. Anyway, I would also be a concierge clerk at a luxury spa and resort in like St. Lucia or Fiji or the Bahamas, you know, someplace really, really cute. And I just wake up, I go to the resort, I do what I do, and I go home and I live my island life. I don't know, that just sounds like a cute ass life. Anyway, another would be a screenwriter or a script analyst, someone that is an analyst, because I am a critical and analytical thinker, and I feel like that'd be a good place to be naturally, like working in that version of myself, because I can detach myself from that. Like I can judge you, critique you, do all these things to you, and then I'm done. I think that's how I've existed in my life for a very long time. Another is a nepotism baby. someone that just enjoys life by the fruits and labors of the people that came before me. I think that'll be like a natural, fun job. Another, like, I think I wanted this to be number one, but I didn't say it because I didn't want to seem too narcissistic. But I see myself as a queen or a duchess, like someone that not just like, okay, you have the title, but exists in the structure of what it means to be in a monarchy. I think like naturally who I am, I love the structure. I love like doing something not just generally for myself, but for the larger picture. And I feel like those are really good components. I love my people. I love I love communities and like leadership in that aspect. Empathetically thinking for an entire body of people. I feel like I have the ability to do that. Yeah, so I'd be like a queen or a duchess, a speaker of the people. Number 9, it says, in working with affirmations and blurs, very often injuries and monsters swim back to us, and add these to your list as they occur to you. Work with each blurt individually. Turn each negative into an affirmative positive. And I don't have a lot of blurts now. The negative blurts that I have are towards other people outside of me. Like if I do have negative things to say, it's always towards someone else. It's never to myself. You know, I make other people, like the past experience that I've had with other people that have made me feel certain ways about myself, I just have completely made them the idiots in the story. Like, they're idiots. Of course that they would say that. Of course they would think that. They're dumb. And I think that's kind of helped me turn the negative into a positive. But this is what I wrote. My ideas are lame. I don't necessarily that's something that I had to write for the process. I don't think it's something that I actually believe. So no, I don't think my ideas are lame. Could they be worked on a little more? Yes. Could they be given a little bit more thought? Of course. But maybe if they're lame to whoever I'm speaking to, they're not the right audience. Another one was that I should not have been born. And I talked about like having a parent that you felt like just genuinely should have just had one kid. Like I hate feeling like I am a burden for existing, and it's something that like, damn, it puts a fear in my heart about starting my own family, because I want to be in a position to never like make them feel bad for wanting to live a full life just because I cannot financially support them or give them what they need. You know what I'm saying? And I think to counter that, I said, you know, the world is much better with someone like me in it, because of my experience and my ability to express how I feel. There are many of people in the world that feel less alone, and if I can leave the world today knowing that that's what I am like promoting into the world, I'm pretty happy. Another one is you're too lazy to keep up with the progress that you have. And honestly, with the way that I went through this week, it's like, is it lazy? Is it just not having the discipline? I'm just like, that one was very tough for me, because in a way I feel like I should be farther along in my organization. I should be able to have it all figured out as far as like how much energy I'm putting into this thing. If this is the thing that I want to do, why am I waiting last minute to do it? My counter to that is I'm using this artist way experience to develop better discipline and building a better, not only creative, but spiritual practice to how I express myself. And yeah, another one is that you're not supposed to win, or people like you give up, or people like you settle and never get what they actually want. And it's like, even the things that I'm saying, it's like I don't genuinely believe those things. And I think regardless of developing some type of sentence that could counter that, just knowing in my heart that I know those things I don't believe are true, there's things that I just had to write for the process, makes me feel pretty good. And maybe throughout this process more things will come up. I'm just saying for right now, I think The blurts that I had were so unrealistic, they weren't able to stay in my mind long enough. The last task is taking yourself on an artist walk. I think going on walks genuinely every day is a good way to help the mind, help your consciousness, and I should be doing at least 10,000 steps every day. I'm gonna work on that because I need to get my booty right. Doing these free expression processes or these free expression episodes have always been a challenge for me. I talked about that. This is the first time making a video that I did not have a script, and I just feel challenged, but I feel a little bit relieved that I was able to kind of be myself, and maybe I didn't say things in the most perfect way to impact a person in the best way, but it was real and it was me. And I think throughout this Artist Way experience or this Artist Way challenge, it happens more. So I recorded myself in my living room. Yes, you hear the cars, you hear everything in the background, because I'm trying something different where I'm discovering ways to create in its imperfections. I knew for me to really commit to the process, I needed to do the creative things that triggered me anxiously, or things that pushed me back inside of my box. I genuinely like the setup. I know the sound isn't necessarily the best, but what's more important than all of these things that you see is that I was able to go off script and just be my true self and express myself creatively in this raw form of who I am. And if I want to continue to move forward, and if I want to feel like I'm not standing in my own way, I have to allow my true self to push through. And I feel like my ability to express that will be important for the future of this channel. And hopefully it gives people, the ability to bring more honesty into what they're trying to move forward with. And I remember when I first started, it doesn't necessarily happen now, when I first started, people asked me how do you do it, why are you doing it, we're proud of you. I'm just so nervous, I don't feel like I could be able to do it. In my mind I'm like, you could. And I know exactly what you're feeling like, because I used to feel exactly how you feel, especially when it comes down to expressing your truth. People always assume that there's going to be a consequence for expressing truth or being their true, raw, and authentic self. And when you tell the stories about your honest past, the positive, the negatives, no one dies. You're not going to disappoint anyone by expressing the truth of your experience. And if you do disappoint people by being honest and truthful with who you are and what you've experienced, those people should not be a part of this journey, because it takes a lot to put your pride aside to say, this is my past, that was something that I went through, and to not reveal the imperfect parts of yourself to relate is doing a disservice to the people that you're trying to relate to. Not that they should know all of the business, but it's they should at least have more context. When we're watching people and we want to connect and we want to find this person to attach ourselves to and to enjoy watching, we like to know what's inside of them enough to know if they're worthy of our attention. I'll say that. And I felt like in order for people to get a different layer of me, if you've supported me before I had as many subscribers as I have now, I think it's important for you to know more about me. You guys have been watching me for what now, a year, and I still felt like there was so much that I hadn't said. And I think going through this process, it's for me for sure, but it's also so the people that have felt a connection with the things that I say can understand me a little more and understand maybe a part within their journey. If they get to this point where they feel like, oh, creatively I'm experiencing a block, they'll feel more okay with feeling that way because they knew that they have someone in their life, which is me, that has been there too, that has gone through that. And yeah, I just want to be with you guys, and I want you to know that you're not alone. And what better way to do that is if I show you this journey, where it's taking me, and where I'm not afraid to go anymore, because I'm just ready for something different. I'm ready for a new experience. Like I said, when I started this Artist Way challenge, I was more afraid of never having arrived to the realistic needing help and needing something else to push me forward than staying the same. Like, so yeah. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble on and on. Love you guys so much. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at jasmin.siri, and you can listen to all of this audio at the Raw and a Half podcast on Spotify and Apple. And I will see you guys in week 2.